What up, everyone? A brand new episode of the SoleSavy podcast. And today we have a really interesting guest. You've been doing some special things, and we met at the Doernbecher, and my mind is failing me already. Was it 18, Doernbecher 18 that we just celebrated in Portland?
I believe it was 18. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a very interesting business, father-son combo. For the people who have not heard of you guys, give us introduction and a quick spiel on who you are and what you do.
Yeah. First of all, it's an absolute honor to come on your podcast. Huge fans of what you're doing. You had a blast with you guys at the Doernbecher event. So uh, thanks so much for having me. Um, so I'm Steve Thomson. I'm the founder of Happy Life Wood. My son is co-founder, and I'm the artist, so I do all the artwork and plug away in my little shop here. And he does everything social and handles all like business and inquiries and all that good stuff. So we really kind of tag team on all that. But yeah, I do wood art, and I specialize in mainly realism. So I'll do portraits and sneakers. Of course, that's my favorite thing to do. But I'm getting branching out into some different things. But I use all the natural colors in wood. So when I put pieces together and I carve them, I don't use any paints or stains. It's all different species of wood and just utilize the natural colors in them. So yeah, that's what we do, and loving life.
Yeah, I mean, you do amazing work. The first time I
Thank you
saw the
so much.
Doernbecher piece in person, I couldn't believe it. I think we saw in person a lot of people were asking the question was like, "Oh, what'd you stain this with? Like, how'd you paint it?" And it's like, no, this is all individual wood pieces, different grains, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really amazing. We'll dive into it. But I think it's really I would love for you to share with the people like how you got started, like why do this? Because it's not, something you just you've been striving to do your whole life, right? Like what made you want to go down this path?
So I was in the corporate world for 25 plus years. I was in marketing, doing the 9 to 5 grind, and really was just burned out. And about 3.5, 4 years ago, I was looking for kind of a creative outlet, just outside of work that I could do to just take away the stresses of work and just get lost in something. And so I'm like, I've never tried any type of woodworking. I never did any of that growing up, or I didn't even know how to use any tools. So I picked a little DIY project, started YouTubing some things, and I think my first piece was I built some shelves in my garage or something, but fell in love with just working with my hands and just doing something that was working towards a goal and an accomplishment that just completely took me away from everything else and was really just therapeutic. So once I did that, of course, I kind of caught the bug, and I was just reading and reading and learning and trying different projects. But in doing so, with like the traditional side of woodworking, I was kind of getting a little bored, like building tables and things like that. I was looking for some type of a create. I was always looking for a creative spin to put on all my pieces. So it was actually my son Stevie's birthday, and he's a big sneakerhead. So I'm like, I'm gonna try and make a sneaker, out of wood, not a full 3 dimensional sneaker, but like a picture of a sneaker out of wood. And I kind of challenged myself and said, I don't want to use any paints or stains. I just want to use the colors in the natural wood to kind of like achieve what the sneaker looks like. So I did it, and then as I was doing it, my initial thought was to just cut the pieces out, put them together, and it would be just kind of a piece of art, wall hanging, whatever. And I started sanding it, and I started just rounding corners and stuff. And there was one point I'll remember it, forever, where it was sitting up. I had it propped up, and I was like, wow, this thing's starting to look real. Like it's starting to take on a realness. So I just kind of like went down that road a little further. I got, some more tools like carving tools that would help me a little bit more. But really in the beginning, I'm like with that sneaker, I used all just like real rudimentary tools, just a lot of sandpaper and things like that. So ended up giving it to him, and he was blown away. He was just like, Dad, you're onto something here. This is really different. Obviously I fell in love with the whole thing. I kind of developed the process as I was going, and just trying to hone in on a new process that I could use. So that I obviously wanted to do another piece, and I wanted to really challenge myself and do a portrait. So I chose, to do a Kobe Bryant portrait. Did that. It took me a long time because that's where I really developed my overall process. There was a lot of starts and stops and stuff like that. So it took me, a good 4 to 6 months to do. But I was still working my full-time job. So I finally ended up finishing that, and I showed Stevie again. I hadn't showed him throughout the whole thing, and I showed it to him, and he was just like, "Wow, this is, you know, you really got to continue down this path and see where it's going to take you." So I had a buddy that said, "Do you mind if I post this on social media?" And I said, absolutely, no problem. And at the time, we only had a couple hundred followers. Stevie had just built me just like a quick website just for my woodworking and stuff for friends and family or whatever.
Mhm.
And he puts it up. A little while later, he texts me. He says, Pau Gasol just shared it. I was like, oh my God, that's really cool. I was
Yeah,
pumped.
and just for clarity for everyone, just so make sure everyone listening knows or watching, this was an incredible portrait of Kobe Bryant that you just did like out of for fun and passion, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just I had done the one sneaker piece, and I was just kind of exploring this medium, which you know I I don't think didn't think exists, which still to this day really to a degree doesn't. But anyways, my buddy texted me back again. He said, "You're not going to believe this, but Pau Gasol wants to purchase this. He wants to know how he can purchase." So the next thing you know, I'm on a Zoom call with Pau and his business manager and my son. So yeah, it was that's really where everything just took off. I mean, I don't know how many thousand followers, overnight, and so, obviously I'm still in my job. COVID had just hit, and I ended up getting laid off because of COVID. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with my son. He said, "Dad, you're gonna do this full time, and I'm gonna help you. We're gonna do this." So he was just absolutely instrumental in, giving me that tool to get my work out there. And you know it's crazy because we have not looked back.
That sounds like a whirlwind, and I think important to note you didn't have some decade-long history and skill set with wood and you decided to
Right.
do this. You just picked this up and said, you know what, I need a relief point for myself as a person, and it's turned into something beautiful. And for better or worse, depending on how you want to look at it, you got handed an opportunity to say, all right, well, I probably wasn't going to quit my job to do this full time. But now you were given every excuse to do so. So I'm glad it worked out that way, because the work you've been putting out is, I mean, nothing short of amazing. And I know people who might be listening to this, wherever you are, running, driving, at home, working, go to the Happy Life Wood Instagram and start scrolling so you can really appreciate this conversation from a visual perspective, because it's almost a little surreal when you see some of it and you go, damn, that's actually wood, and you didn't paint
Yeah.
it. It gets me
Yeah,
every
it's in the beginning, people didn't know what to make of it. They didn't understand it. It was like, oh, that's painted. That's what everybody kept saying. So,
time.
that's when we really said, well, we got to educate a little bit here. So, that's how me coming on camera and just kind of explaining what it is. Really, that's where that started, and we've kind of rolled with that, ever since.
Yeah. So Pau Gasol buys your first piece, which you didn't even intend to sell or turn into a business ultimately.
Right.
And that kind of sets you down this path after being laid off from your job to keep doing this. What follows from there? Like how and why do you continue doing more sneakers and ultimately even portraits?
The first year was, I don't want to say it was rough. We worked really, really hard just to, establish the brand, establish myself as an artist. Because I really didn't have a portfolio of work. I had a couple pieces. So, trying to, sell my work was a little bit of a task, in that it takes so long. So there's a lot of hours, and as you can imagine, it's not cheap to buy. So what I had to do that first year is I just had to take projects at way below, what I would probably my work was worth, just to get those pieces. So that first year, I think I did, probably, anywhere around 8 to 10 pieces that really, finally gave me a portfolio of work that I could share on Instagram, but it could also show people, that were interested.
Average project for you. I know the Doernbecher I think took you like 400 hours. But in general, like where do you fall in that range for your typical piece for like the time investment you have to put into it?
If I do a pair of sneakers, it's usually somewhere around, 100 to 200 hours. But that piece obviously had, I think, what, nine sneakers on it. So that was obviously longer. But normally portraits take me, anywhere from 3 to 400 hours. It's very, very time consuming and tedious. Like every single little piece that you see in those, which, they're made up of, anywhere from 3 to 600 pieces, in an actual piece. So it's cutting, it's, fitting, it's sanding, it's carving. There's so many different steps, which is why I love it, just because it's, like I said, it's so therapeutic, because the process is just so, you have to have a lot of patience, and I think that's one thing that's I've gotten from this is, patience.
I was gonna say, I think you might be a saint. The patience required, like,
No, I don't know
you.
if I go that far, but I am a little more patient now.
All right. You're patient, but you might not be a saint. You love your woodwork. Um, so how do you end up getting featured on sneakers?
Oh, Sneakers, the app. They just emailed me. I had the first Air Jordan 1 Chicago piece come out, and then went viral
Hmm.
on TikTok. And that's really what kind of caught the attention of the sneaker world.
Right.
And so they just emailed me and said, "We've got an opportunity. Would you be interested?" And of course, yeah, of course, I'm
Yeah.
going to be interested. And it's funny because there was an agency or whatever, and she, asked me if I was interested, and then said a couple days later, said, "Well, we've got another opportunity for you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's even better," And she's like, "It's Father's Day in a couple weeks, and we'd like you and your son to do a little segment on the Sneakers app about
Hmm.
Father's Day." And she goes, "We're gonna send you something." So we're like, "Okay." She didn't want to know our sneaker sizes, and so
Great question. Yeah.
we were all excited, It's like, "Oh man, this is really gonna be cool." So we ended up getting a package, and I open it up, and it's I'm not kidding you. I open it up, and it's a pair of Air Monarchs. I am not kidding you. And I'm like, "What?" the hell? And then I'm thinking about it, and Stevie got the same thing. And basically, they wanted us to show how we would put a fit together with those shoes for the Father's Day thing. And I'm like, I vowed never to put a pair of those on my feet. Okay. So I know it sounds bad, but it was just absolutely hilarious. So they ended up doing something, but it was a real, they didn't do, I told them, I said, I'm not, I can't do that. So
So you
they
went
did it.
from like expecting,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know, an Air Jordan 1 Chicago from
Yeah.
1985 for all we know, right? To receiving
I
a pair of
literally
Monarchs.
laughed out loud when I opened the box. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This
That's
is a
actually
joke. This has got to be a joke.
that's actually hilarious. Do you still have them?
I do. I do.
Okay, I
Yeah.
want you to text me a photo of them after so I can that's amazing. Okay, but all of this, jokes aside, did get you more attention ultimately, and more people became aware of what you were doing. I'm gonna assume this leads to one of the Nike footwear designers getting in touch for OHSU and the Doernbecher project. Is that a fair timeline?
I'm trying to think. Before that, I did the Nice Kicks piece for Matt Halfhill,
Yep.
which I think is one of my better pieces of work. That went viral as well. So again, just picking up some momentum in terms of followers and exposure. And then before the Doernbecher piece was the piece I did for PJ Tucker.
Yep.
And that was also, just an absolute, dream come true. I mean, Stevie and I, we would sometimes talk about who the, top people in the sneaker world that I would want to do a piece for. And he was at the very top. And it was just blown away by that. But Doernbecher, actually, I did a reel on Instagram because I wanted to get my work in front of Tinker,
Yep.
and so I did this. I did this reel, and I just said, "Hey, if anybody out there, knows him and can make that connection, I'd absolutely love it." Blah blah blah. And Steven Andrades from Nike reached out via DM and he said, "Hey, have you made contact?" And I said, "I kind of have someone that says they're going to do it, but it's just not panning out."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I know his brother. I might be able to do that." So, but then we got talking. We had just an absolute uh, phenomenal dude, and he said, "Well, you know what? I'm working on right now. I'm one of the product developers on the Doernbecher project,
Mhm.
and there might be an opportunity there." And I was just like, "Are you kidding me? That would be absolutely phenomenal." And so we had several conversations, and he really, it wasn't easy. There was a lot of red tape, and
Yep.
it just had to go through a lot of people. But he just went to bat for us. Can't thank him enough. Absolute, gem. So that's really kind of how that came about.
And that piece was auctioned off at the event live in Portland. It was really cool to see the paddles going up and the thousands of dollars in price going up and seeing everyone oogling it and taking photos. And I'm actually curious, do you know where it lives now? Did the auction
Yeah,
or
yeah. I think the guy that got it, I think he had like a cabin, maybe in like Tahoe or something,
okay.
and he was gonna put it up in there.
Oh
So
wow. Nice.
I mean, I haven't talked to him since, but hopefully he's enjoying it.
What comes next for you? You've done some amazing projects and collaborations. What's next for the business? Can you give us a sneak peek into who else you might be working with right now, or what we can expect to see soon? Yeah.
I feel incredibly blessed that just the opportunities that have come our way for with just phenomenal people. But actually, we're leaving on Saturday to go to Chicago because I did just finish the piece for the Bulls. That's gonna be unveiled at their game on Monday. So we're pretty excited about that. I did a piece. They reached out. They wanted to do a piece for of their mascot, Benny the Bull. You know, he's like the mascot of all mascots, man. He's got I think he's got 4 million followers on Instagram,
Holy
and
crap.
I think the Bulls have 1 million. It's
No
nuts.
way. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So we're really excited about that. We've also got some incredible opportunities. We just feel so grateful. I forgot, we've probably got three opportunities. Oh, I'm actually working on a piece for Julius Randle of the Knicks right
Nice.
now. And then following that, so I can't really talk about those, but stay tuned because there's some really really cool stuff coming.
Yeah, I mean, look, you do amazing work. The father son combo, I love to see. This is the exact opposite of AI generated artwork on the internet. It's the
Exactly.
more of a polar opposite.
Yeah.
What you're doing. So I'm excited for you to share more and keep building. And maybe I'll commission a SoleSavy logo piece that's maybe this
Let's do
big.
it.
Doesn't take you hundreds of hours and I can afford it, but
we
I
can
would
do a
love
we
to
can
have a
do a
little.
small one. I
Yeah.
think we need to do one of your sneakers. It would actually lend itself really well because I could use the black, as Wenge, which is a really black wood, and then holly is like really white, so that it would translate really well.
All right, nerdy wood question because now I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many different types of wood are you familiar with? Because what you just said to me did not register at all. Because I
Yeah,
know,
it's crazy.
yeah,
I didn't, like I said in the beginning, I didn't, I had heard of like walnut and cherry but in doing this, in having to research different colors, because, obviously, there's different colors in these pieces. And so, I did a lot of research in terms of species of wood. And I mean, to know them all is not even doable. There's so many. There's just thousands. But I don't know. I'd probably know. I don't know, 50 species maybe off the top of my head. Um, but yeah, there's a big palette. You wouldn't even realize. I mean, if you look at that Doernbecher piece, there's orange, there's green, there's yellow, there's purple, there's pink. I mean, it's just crazy. If you look at the Prestos, it had that pink wood, and in within that shoe there was all those little flowers and everything, and it was I was using yellow and green, and so yeah, I mean there's it there is a limit to it, and I am limited to a degree, but there is a lot. Blue is probably the color that is the most difficult
for sure.
to get.
Yeah, I see it on the Instagram stories when you guys are when you're gearing up to sell a new piece. So I'm always excited to see it, and I'm always excited to see it sell, and can't wait to see what you're up to in 2023.
With great people, like yourselves, and you guys at SoleSavy. We absolutely love you guys. We've made such great connections with you guys, with Juan
Likewise.
and yourself, and like I said, we had a blast with you guys. It was really actually sorry we couldn't make your party at Complex Con. We
Uh,
just had so much going on, but
I mean,
yeah.
same thing. We didn't make it to Complex Con to see your booth, so it was a little crazy on both sides. But
Yeah.
Steve, I appreciate you taking the time to join us and tell people a little about your story and share about your craft. And I think my biggest takeaway is you can do anything whenever you want, and you don't have to make excuses. You picked up wood for the first time. We don't gotta disclose your age, but you haven't been doing woodworking since you were 7, like some people might say they've been doing
No,
things.
it's really, it's one of my biggest things right now is trying to inspire other artists and other people that
Take the
are
plunge.
looking to kind of take what they love and run with it. And
Yeah.
it's never too late.